The Lenovo Miix $529.99 is gunning for the Microsoft Surface Pro, aiming to provide many of the features of this iconic Windows tablet at a fraction of the price. It's a difficult task, made even harder by the fact that many other PC makers are attempting to do the same thing. But there's no question that it's a worthwhile pursuit, since the high price of a respectably configured Surface Pro is perhaps its most significant drawback. Lenovo succeeds on the most important fronts: a powerful 8th generation Intel Core i5 processor and a useful stylus, for instance, but fails to improve on some common tablet drawbacks, such as poor battery life and uncomfortable ergonomics for lap use. Still, the Miix 520 is clearly the best mid-range Windows tablet you can buy right now. Flexible design, the Miix 520 is minimally changed from its predecessor, last year's Miix 510. Both are Windows tablets with included smart keyboard covers. The cover protects the Miix 520's 12.2-inch Full HD 1920 by 1080 screen when you're not using it, and its pogo-style connector magnetically detaches when you want to use the device in tablet mode. The entire package is designed to compete as much with traditional laptops and 2-inch ones as with high-end tablets, especially 12.9-inch Apple iPad Pro with its optional smart keyboard cover. View all 7 photos in gallery with keyboard attached. The Miix 520 weighs 2.65 pounds and measures 0.6 by 11.8 by 8.1 inches HWD. That's marginally slimmer and lighter than the Miix 510, which is 0.8 inches thick and weighs 2.71 pounds with its keyboard. While you would certainly consider these tablets to be thin and light, neither is as feathery as the lightest conventional notebooks, such as the 2.45-pound HP Spectre 13 or the 2-pound LG Gram 13. They also aren't as thin as conventional tablets. The iPad Pro is 0.27 inches thick, compared with the Miix 520's 0.4-inch thickness without the keyboard. Essentially, you are trading a bit of portability for a lot of flexibility. And the Miix 520 certainly is flexible. Its keyboard has 2 magnetized areas, so you can use it flat on a table, or you can prop it up so the keys are positioned at a slight angle to the screen. It's much more versatile than the iPad Smart Keyboard, for instance, which can only lay flat. Since the Miix 520's keyboard is so thin, you'll notice quite a bit of flex when it's angled, being that the table isn't supporting it, but the keys themselves are the same large, sturdy ones we've come to expect from Lenovo. They're even backlit. Whether you're using the Miix 520 with or without the keyboard, you can extend the kickstand that's built into the back of the tablet. There are no detents on the attractive watch band-style hinges, which means that you can prop up the tablet at nearly any angle. It's sturdy, too, so sturdy that I noticed almost no screen bounce when I tapped the screen with my fingers or wrote on it using the included Lenovo Active Pen 2. Screen bounce is a common problem with conventional touchscreen laptops. There is one major advantage of conventional laptops that the Miix 520 can't come close to matching, however, it doesn't comfortably fit on your lap. In fact, when I tried, the stand kept slipping off of my knees as I typed and moused around on the small but accurate multi-touch touchpad, and I had to grab the top of the tablet to keep it from sliding off my lap and onto the floor. Limited ports with laptop components and a stand built into a tablet-sized enclosure, it's no wonder the Lenovo had little room left over for ports. All you get is a USB 3.0 port, a USB-C port, an audio input-output jack, and a connector for the power cable. The audio port is located on the right edge, next to the power button and the volume rocker, while the other 3 ports are on the left edge. That side gets especially crowded when you use the holder for the included Active Pen 2, a plastic tab that plugs into the single USB 3.0 port. Not only must you give up access to the USB 3.0 port when the holder is installed, but when it's holding the pen, it also blocks the power jack and the USB-C port. It's a poor design that has us longing for the strong magnets that hold the Microsoft Surface Pen to the Surface Pro. That's too bad, because the pen itself works flawlessly for sketching and writing on the screen, and you can also use its buttons via a Bluetooth connection for basic navigation within apps. The Miix 520 itself has both Bluetooth 4.1 and 802.11 AC Wi-Fi. Our review unit, which is the only configuration you can purchase, also comes with a micro SIM card slot tucked beneath the kickstand, although it lacks a cellular modem to take advantage of it. Currently, cellular-equipped versions of the Miix 520 aren't for sale in the US. The front and rear-facing cameras on the Miix 520 work fine for casual Skype sessions with family members, although the fixed focus 5MP front shooter requires you to hold the tablet a set distance from your face for the clearest picture. The speakers are on the lower left and lower right sides of the tablet, and deliver the so-so audio that you'd expect from a tablet. Music and voice tracks sound more rich on the iPad Pro. Lenovo includes a 1-year warranty for the Miix 520. Admirably equipped, our review unit is well equipped for a tablet. In addition to the 8th generation Intel Core i5 8250U processor running at 1.6 GHz, it also includes 8 GB of memory and a 256 GB SSD. Other mid-range and high-end tablets offer similar specs and prices. You can get a 12.9-inch iPad Pro with Apple's A10X processor and 256 GB of storage for $899. The Surface Pro is a notable exception here. Its $799 entry-level version comes with just 4 GB of RAM, a 128 GB SSD, and a Core M3 processor. A better configured one is much more expensive. The Surface Pro we tested costs $2,199 and comes with an Intel Core i7-7660U processor, 16 GB of RAM, and a 512 GB SSD. So it's clear that with the Miix 520, Lenovo is attempting to compete with both Microsoft and Apple by offering more versatility than you can get from the iPad Pro and similar performance you'd expect from a Surface Pro. Does it succeed? Unequivocally, yes. It outscored its main competitors on nearly all of our synthetic and real-world benchmarking tests. The Miix 520's score of 3,436 on the PC Mark 8 benchmark, which spits out a proprietary score to compare video conferencing, web browsing, and many other common PC tasks, shows just how much Intel's 8th generation core processor architecture has improved. It's leaps and bounds ahead of the 6th-gen Core i5 that powers the Miix 510 2820, the 7th-gen Core i7 that powers the HP Spectre X2 2865, and it's even faster than the Microsoft Surface Pro 3032. Okay, you might be saying, but the Surface Pro is for professionals, so it probably performs better on specialized tasks such as image editing and video transcoding. Right? Wrong. The Miix 520 significantly outscored the Surface Pro on our handbrake video encoding test, 1 minute and 18 seconds versus 216, and the Cinebench 3D rendering benchmark 606 versus 407, and nearly matched it on our collection of Photoshop image editing tasks, 320 versus 315. And don't forget that the Surface Pro configuration referenced here has double the memory and is more than $1,000 costlier than the Miix 520. There are two minor downsides to the Miix 520's configuration. Well, three, if you count its dismal gaming performance, but no Windows tablet offers acceptable gaming graphics performance. At 7 hours and 32 minutes, its battery life is much shorter than what you'd expect from conventional ultra-portable laptops, some of which push 20 hours. That's a byproduct of putting high-powered components into a tablet. Its competitors, including the Surface Pro, offer roughly the same battery life. Secondly, we noticed clearly audible fan noise when performing processor-intensive tasks, such as streaming video from a website. The fanless iPad Pro has a clear advantage here. See how we test tablets, an affordable Surface alternative with the Miix 520. Lenovo succeeds in its mission to offer an affordable Windows tablet that combines the best features of the iPad Pro and the Surface Pro. Not only is it a great mid-range tablet, but if you can look past a few minor blemishes like fan noise and a clumsy pen, the Miix 520 could even be a better choice than the Surface Pro if you're a cost-conscious creative professional seeking a powerful, thin, and light design tool. If your budget allows, though, you can just as easily justify the Surface Pro's additional expense, especially if you appreciate Microsoft's excellent build quality and can make use of the company's superior pen. Page 2 to the Lenovo Yoga 720 convertible laptop comes in several shapes and sizes. The best option for most people is probably the 13-inch model, the recipient of an Editor's Choice Award for its feathery weight and balance of features and price. But if you'd like to go even smaller and less expensive, there's a $649.99 12-inch version, the subject of this review. To keep the price and size down, Lenovo outfits it with bare-bones components, an Intel Core i3-7100U, a 4GB of RAM, and a 128GB SSD, that result in a relatively slow machine with scarce room for your multimedia collection, but enough power for light web browsing, emails, and word processing. Throw in a high-quality Full HD touch display, and you've got a versatile convertible laptop for casual use, albeit one that can't offer extra computing oomph if you ever need it. Thin bezel, good display. The Yoga 720 rides the thin bezel wave that began to wash over the high-end ultra-portable market a few years ago, and has no signs of breaking anytime soon. The bezel, or border around the screen, is quite thin on the sides of the Yoga 720's 12.5-inch Full HD display, but thick enough on the top to include a webcam in the normal position at the center of the screen. Compare that with Dell's Infinity Edge display on the XPS series, which is so thin on all sides that there's no room for a webcam above the screen. People who use the laptops for video conferencing will much prefer the Yoga 720's webcam position to the awkwardly placed camera at the lower left corner of Dell XPS 13, where it mostly captures a view of your knuckles. The Lenovo's webcam takes surprisingly non-grainy HD video, even in low light conditions. View all 7 photos in gallery. The glossy display itself is also very good, with rich colors and wide viewing angles thanks to in-plane switching IPS technology. When you tap on it, though, you'll notice significant bounce. As a result, in testing, I mostly interacted with the Yoga 720 using the touchpad in laptop mode. Fortunately, the touchpad, while small, is quite responsive to multi-touch gestures and has excellent palm rejection, so you don't accidentally move the cursor while you're typing. In tablet mode, the bouncing of the screen is obviously not a factor, and you'll appreciate that the Yoga 720 includes support for Lenovo's Active Pen $39.99, an optional stylus that features more than 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity to mimic the feel of writing on paper. It's too bad that Lenovo doesn't throw in the pen for free, as Toshiba does with the business-focused Portage X2OWD. The Yoga 720's keys are relatively sturdy, but they lack backlighting and their switches feel cheap and produce a hollow clicking sound when you press them. It's clear that the keyboard falls victim to cost-cutting on this model, since the more expensive 13-inch version and the premium Yoga 920 both have excellent backlit keyboards. I appreciate the inclusion of full-sized left and right directional arrow keys, although I would prefer full-sized up and down arrow keys too. That's not possible since Lenovo put the fingerprint reader directly beneath the keyboard on the right side of the laptop, which in itself is a handy feature for logging into Windows without typing your password. It's even more useful since the webcam doesn't support face recognition login. Input-output options are very limited on the Yoga 720, but that's nothing out of the ordinary for a small laptop. You'll have to make do with a single USB 3.0 port and a single USB-C port, both located on the right edge next to the power button. Luckily, unlike the Apple MacBook, neither of those will be occupied when you're charging, since the Yoga 720 includes a dedicated power port on its left edge, next to the 3.5mm audio in-out jack. Sound emanates from 2 speaker grills at the bottom of the chassis, near the left and right edges. This means that dialogue tracks are somewhat muted if you're using the Yoga 720 in laptop mode, since the fabric of your clothes acts as a muffler. Change to 10 to tablet mode, however, and the speakers are noticeably louder, although they never deliver as clear highs or as robust bass as you might expect from the Harman branding. All of these features fit into a very slim footprint. Despite its 12.5-inch screen, the laptop is about the same size as a traditional 11-inch notebook, thanks to the thin bezel. It measures 0.6 by 11.5 by 8 inches HWD, just a hair bigger than its predecessor, the 11.6-inch Yoga 710, 0.59 by 11.06 by 7.68 inches, and about the same size as the Portage X20WD 0.61 by 11.8 by 8.6 inches, which also features a 12.5-inch screen. The Yoga 720 weighs 2.53 pounds, making it neither exceptionally heavy nor featherlight. The larger HP Spectre 13, for instance, weighs just 2.4 pounds, and the 2.3-pound Huawei MateBook X is even lighter. Sure, it could do to shed a few ounces, but the Yoga 720 will imperceptibly clutter up and weigh down your backpack, a large handbag. Wireless connections include 802.11 AC and Bluetooth 4.1, and Lenovo supports the system with a 1-year warranty. Relatively pokey is configured, the Yoga 720 is quite slow, and best suited for basic PC tasks that don't tax the Intel Core i3 processor. It scored 2,689 on our PC Mark 8 benchmark, which measures a wide range of tasks that PC users are likely to perform regularly, everything from web browsing to video conferencing. Anything above 2,500 is acceptable for these types of tasks, although you will likely notice slowdowns if you have multiple browser tabs or apps open at once. Its PC Mark score is slightly better than last year's Core M3-powered Yoga 710 2451, but significantly lower than conventional laptops its price range, such as the Acer Swift 3 3085 and the Asus ZenBook UX 330 3061. The convertible Dell Inspiron 13 2983 also performs better than the Yoga 720 on this test, and it's more than a minute faster on our specialized multimedia tests, too. The Dell took 2 minutes and 14 seconds to convert a video in Handbrake compared with the Yoga 720's time of 318, and it finished our sample Photoshop image resizing tasks in 440, while the Yoga 720 took 557. Both the Inspiron 13 7000 and the Yoga 720 lasted about 7 hours and 45 minutes on our battery rundown test, which involves playing a local looped video file at 50% screen brightness. Those are disappointing results for people who want to use the laptops all day and evening long without plugging them in, and even more disappointing when you consider that the Yoga 710 managed more than 11 hours of battery life on our test. The switch from a Core M3 to a Core i3 processor is likely responsible for the decline. If you want marathon battery life at this price, you'll have to stick with a conventional laptop. Both the Swift 3 and the ZenBook UX 330 lasted more than 12 hours on our battery test. None of these convertibles and notebooks should be used for graphics-intensive gaming, as evidenced by the scores of just a few hundred points on the Firestrike Extreme Gaming Simulation test. Gaming laptops typically post scores in the thousands. But the Yoga 720's performance on the less intensive CloudGate test 4816 is disappointingly low even among its peers. The Asus, the Acer, and the Dell all managed to eke out higher scores from the same Intel HD Graphics 620 GPU. See how we test laptops, of course. If you plan to use the Yoga 720 to type up notes or check the weather and movie times, as I did during my real-world testing, you'll likely be satisfied. It's also worth noting that you can upgrade the memory, storage, and CPU, all the way up to an Intel Core i7, 8GB of RAM, and a 512GB SSD, for a reasonable $250 extra. Go bigger, or go Dell. The Lenovo Yoga 720 succeeds in doing what it sets out to do, offering a step up from the cheap-looking, unimaginative Chromebooks and Windows laptops that proliferate around the $300 mark. For a little more than twice that price, you get a very good full HD touchscreen and a convertible hinge that allows you to use the PC as a tablet to prop it up like a tent to watch videos. Sacrifices are required, however, and they come in the form of computing performance. Not only is the Yoga 720 slower than similarly priced conventional laptops, it lags slightly behind editor's choice Dell Inspiron 13 7000 2 inches 1. The best course of action for most people is probably to buy the Dell, or move up to the 13.3-inch version of the Yoga 720 instead of spending more money on faster components for the 12.5-inch version.